Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out this special episode of Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I am here with.
Nils Hintze, and I'm a freelance writer for the Free League.
I am now reading your Walking Dead RPG. I am very impressed with the work. The RPG has actually reinvigorated my interest again in The Walking Dead. You know, it's so well written. It's well designed. It's clear. I can't wait to do a review about this actually on the site very soon. But today we're going to talk about the Electric State RPG, which is coming out on Kickstarter in the first week of December. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. What is, for anyone hearing about this for the first time, what is the Electric State?
Well, the Electric State is from beginning. It's an art book by Simon Stålenhag, who's done the Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood, and so it's his beautiful art and his enigmatic, dramatic horror stories in art book form. So it's a RPG version of that, and as you probably know, it will become a movie as well on Netflix.
Yes, it has some really good stars attached to it. So I'm intrigued with this as well. So I guess the first thing I want to ask, because I've been seeing this come up a few times at different forums, is this a continuation in any way of the either Things from the Flood or Tales of the Loop RPG?
No, it's not. It's not in the same universe, if I'm understood correctly from Simon. It's like a different. It's a different version of the past. So
Hmm.
no.
Yeah, an alternate Earth, right? The setting, it's in the 90s, but there's giant robots all around.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
can you
yeah.
explain
You
a little bit
can.
about the setting to us?
Yeah, yeah. As I said, it's an alternative version of the 90s. So it's not like really uh, scientifically correct, if you could say that. But in this version of our world, they made scientific progress in the 60s that let the scientists understand more how the human brain works, kind of copying the network. I mean, the brain is basically like a really non-complex connections of neurons, but when they get a lot of them, it gets really complex processes start. And in this version, the scientists in the 60s managed to copy that process and started to create things that we don't have in our world. Like, and we're starting to have some at like drone ships and kind of drone robots that you can kind of take on with your mind and become like becoming a robotic body, I could say. And besides that, history is pretty much similar in the kind of the 60s, but then during the 70s and 80s there is a big civil war in the US, and I think Canada is involved as well, and it kind of spreads all over the world. The book is a bit vague on that. And what happens is like, and this book is basically focused on the US and specifically California, but you can play the role playing game anywhere in the world. But California is what we know most about. So the US is kind of falling apart in this civil war that is fought with drone ships. And the people who own the drone ships and the science are the companies. So when the kind of the smoke shatters and peace becomes more peaceful, there are like companies that have a lot of power, and they are kind of behind the new presidents in the new states. So we get like one state that was previously California, Pacifica. So and that's where this story is occurs. So the 90s is kind of a it's kind of a period that starts with the world is about to rebuild, and they start to rebuild it from the cities from the west, and they start to try to get like the industries going, and good things are happening. And from the war and the kind of neuroscience, they have the drones still, and they have like the ability to kind of connect people to neurocasters. It's like a thing you put on your head, and you get kind of transported into kind of a landscape or a virtual world or something. But something happens here in the 90s. Something happens with the neurocasters, and he writes about the sixth upgrade of this system. In that sixth upgrade, you some people claim, we don't know if that is the truth, but some people claim that kind of an intelligence is born inside the system, and that intelligence is starting to take control over people. And what we do know is that more and more people are taking on the neurocasters and don't take them off. So people start ignoring their children, police officers don't go to work, all kind of building projects in the cities are kind of ignored beside kind of building this network more and more and more and more, and kind of putting up like lines between these kind of neurocaster towers. So what is actually happening, you could say, is like a network pretty much similar to inside the brain is being built all over the world. And it's probably controlled by this machine intelligence inside the network. And that, of course, starts a major apocalypse in the world. And you could say the game starts pretty much when the apocalypse is starting. So it's kind of like pre-apocalypse, apocalyptic kind of. And in this story, in the book, it's about a girl and her drone robot traveling on a road trip through Pacifica. And when I do this kind of things like writing role-playing games about Walking Dead or whatever, I want to write a game where what happens in the fiction I'm basing it on could have been a story in the role-playing game. So I've tried to write the role-playing game where if you play it, you could end up with a story that's in the book. Sorry if this gets a little long.
Oh no,
But
this is very intriguing. It sounds like in a way, a combination of Robotech, a bit of Transformers, and then definitely Terminator, where you have all
yeah,
these. There's corporations. There's a possible rogue AI. The apocalypse looks like it's about to happen, and you're caught up. You're sort of in the middle of it. Am I understanding that correctly?
yeah. So you're one of the few people who aren't. Um, you don't have been like engulfed by the AI yet. You haven't been like you aren't addicted to the neurocasters as many are. And for some reason, you're going on a journey. And that is what the game is about. It's a road trip game. Just as this girl and her drone friend, they are going on a journey on the book, a road trip. So you go on a journey. So in the game, you always have your car and you're kind of a group, or I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 people going in your car. You have a goal. That's something you kind of come up with before the campaign starts. And then you kind of get halted, you kind of get blocked at different locations on the road, and there things happen. So you can play a game where the campaign is kind of made up with different locations that aren't that much connected to each other. I mean, you go to one place, something happens there, and you go to the next, something happens there, and the kind of the thing that's the same are the characters. But you could also play a journey or a campaign where the locations are related to each other, where you have kind of a meta story, or you're trying to do things at the different locations. I mean, it could be anything from being bank robbers to actually trying to solve some kind of mystery and going from place to place. So I would say it's kind of a little, in my mind at least, it's a little different in how it plays out. It's not the classical scenario or quest or dungeon. I've tried to write. I always wanted to write a role playing game about travels, because I think is a hard thing to kind of do well in RPGs.
It's
This is
funny
my
you mentioned.
attempt. Sorry.
Well, it's funny you mentioned travel, because the first thing we were talking about, the first thing I thought of is the One Ring RPG, which is also about traveling as well.
Yeah.
So it's a game. It sounds like it's a game where it's not your typical, like, you're going in a dungeon fighting monsters. There's a quest to be had, and you're traveling around to find out either self discovery or just trying to survive, maybe. Am I Am I correct
Yeah,
in?
I would say the games are similar in one way, but where I've only read the One Ring. I've never played it, so maybe I'm wrong. But my take on it is that the One Ring is more, it's more a challenge-based game. You're challenged, and you need to complete this journey, and you have to roll this, otherwise you will kind of need to fight these foes. And oh no, I missed the roll. Now we so it's more a game about being challenged. And I would say this is more a storytelling game. This is more a
Mm.
cooperative creating a story game. I would say Under Hollow Hills by Lumpley is a game I played a while ago, and I was like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. So I would say that is kind of similar to the idea I had.
Oh, okay. So if I may compare it to another role-playing game, the Walking Dead RPG, because I've
Yeah,
noticed that also has a very storytelling aspect to it. It's not just running away from zombies. There's
yeah,
NPCs you
definitely.
have to connect with, or else you slowly go mad. So would you
Mm.
say, in a similar sense, that Electric State is sort of like that? It's about NPC and PC player character cooperation.
Definitely. I would say they're very different in kind of the mechanics of I mean, there is in the Walking Dead, there's a survival aspect, and you kind of move on the map, and things happen like in a classical D&D sandbox game. This is not a sandbox game at all, and you don't move like on hexes. It's more like what do you call that? A point crawl, you could perhaps call it. Um, but I mean, I think everything I write will be in that niche, in the kind of storytelling, relation based. Um, I'm not that interested in more challenge based games, if you can call it that, with like killing monsters and gaining XP. And I think that is fun, but I'm not. That's not what I'm good at writing, and not so interested in. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So if I may ask, in this game, what characters can you play? Or is it mostly humans? Do you play the robots? Or how does character creation work?
You're very much human characters, and very much kind of like everyday people. But you could play a drone, like the drone in the story. Then you are a human, but you're kind of wearing a metallic body, and perhaps your goal for the journey is kind of finding your own real human body or something. But you're kind of a traveling salesperson. You can be like a cult member wanting to recruit people. You could be a doctor, and pretty much anybody. It could be a criminal running away from the law, or yeah. So you can be pretty much anybody, kind of regular person. So you're not a superhero or something like that.
Okay. So for game masters, what what are the antagonists of the game when they're setting this up? What are they? What is the book? What options does the book give you?
For each location you come to, there are some kind of conflict that would kind of escalate while you're there, and that could be between, I mean, anything you can possibly think of. And then there are threats as well, and the book provides I don't know, many examples of threats, which could be anything from like, I mean, if you're like the really apocalyptic parts of this world, it could be like a teen gang of bandits who have taken over the village and are kind of running in as they want. You could have almost like Mad Max people controlling, having roadblocks and stuff. You can have, yeah, as I said, techno cults. You can have something called growths or half-lives. It's kind of like creatures born from growths are like kind of metallic monster robots, and half-lives is kind of something, it said, we don't know if it exists, but it's kind of a mix between flesh and robotic robotic parts. You can have like real monsters. You can have like companies doing, I mean, being not good to the people living at a place. You can have kind of mundane threats as well. And there's a mix between, each character has their own personal threat, and you have threats at the location. So there's something you can kind of wait in some campaigns. You perhaps want to focus more on personal threats, and there you will kind of face the gang. They kind of, I don't know, killed your brother, and you want to get back at them, and they're at every location, and that's what it's all about. Or your personal threat could be kind of your gambling addiction and things about that. Or you can lean in more towards kind of more general threats, where it will be more about how will the player characters interact with the threats at this location. And we don't know that from the start. There is no end game. There is no to the location. There is no kind of, it's not pre-decided how it will play out. It's just parts being related. When I get kind of I don't know what you call it in English, snofsy in Swedish. I don't know what it's called in English. When you kind of I like to think of it as like the human brain. It's, as I said before, it's like really simple structure connected to each other, and that in itself creates higher functions. We like to think of the human brain as we have a little person controlling our brain. That's not the case. It's just like simple systems connected, and in that arise something we tend to think of as a ourself, but that doesn't really exist. It's just like we think that. And I want to do the same thing with this location. I mean, things are related, things are connected, and you have the player characters, you have like the threats, you have the conflicts, and something will arise from that. Probably, hopefully, something good. But the game doesn't take kind of responsibility for what will arise.
When you write these books, are there any like specific themes that you hope that readers of or players of the game um, learn or understand? Is there because sometimes especially when we deal with post-apocalyptic media, there could be a lot of different themes and a lot of different ideas coming out of there. Do you have any specific in mind, or do you think of it as more like, oh, I'm just making a game, and good luck with that? How does, if I may ask, what is your thought process?
I don't aim to make specific themes arise at the table, if you say that. I don't kind of include rules that would that are tailored so that something exactly will happen at the table. I don't believe in that. I think that gets, in those kind of games, you can feel a little bit controlled. So I really don't like that. But I think the game itself should be filled with themes in all the little text parts and the examples, and what kind of stories, what kind of conflicts then can arise. And I mean, the challenge here with Simon's books is really that they're so filled with the theme. They're so kind of thick with, I don't know, emotions or kind of, so the challenge is to kind of take what he has already created and kind of keep that when you transfer it to a role-playing game. So I definitely thought a lot about that and tried to kind of configure it and look at what he has done, and still not being too, I mean, over obvious. I mean, one of the themes of course what happens with, I mean, you could, in Neurocast, you could as well be like a mobile phone you're locked to, or I mean, it's an AI probably in the network. We don't know that, but they want to keep that theme and really make it become important without kind of, I mean, make it too obvious, kind of oversimplifying it. And I think this game has, this book has some kind of hope to it. It's like a kind of a bleak, depressive story. It's kind of hard, and they're very alone, these young people traveling a world that is kind of just falling apart, and kind of all adults are just not there, just as in Simon's other books. The adults are never there. But I think in this book, if you actually look at it, there is some kind of hope in this world where everyone is just giving up and just putting on the Neurocasters and just, yeah, it, and just taking off, I don't know, their clothes, and just, I don't care anymore. It's just like when you're lying on the sofa and just, I put on the Netflix, I don't care anymore. these people who the story is about are actually trying to achieve something. They actually have hope. They actually want to do something, and they're kind of have a humanity and an empathy in this bleak world, and that is something I want the characters, the player characters, to be those people. Amidst all this badness, they still want to do what needs to be done. So that is one theme I wanted to kind of convey.
Yes, Simon's work is interesting. It's like everything you said. There's a sense that the characters in his stories are definitely struggling with something, some sort of hopelessness or depression. But yet, as a viewer looking in, you're looking at this world, and it's like it's beautiful. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like their hopelessness. We can no longer see this beauty. Like to us, like there's one image I saw with a giant robot over a bridge. It looked like a giant toy almost. And I look at it, I was like, wow, that's a great piece of art. But in the story, it's pretty sad. You know, so it's very interesting. But that could be a different video, I guess, about his teams. When it comes to the game, going back to the game, um, uh, if I was running this game and you were one of my players, who would you be?
Perhaps I'll be like the cult member, trying to kind of bring people into my crazy, strange faith along the way, and kind of harassing the other with pamphlets in the car. That would be fun. Yeah.
So again, this comes out the first week of December. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up that I haven't asked you about concerning this project?
Well, I can say as in my other games, I try to write something that will stand on its own legs, that won't need additional scenarios or campaign books. Not that they won't be written or published, but I always want to create things that are, you could take this book or this game and play it and you don't need anything else. So it's like included a lot of rules about how you plan a journey, how you create a location, and many tables for kind of helping the game master do that.
You know, I totally forgot to ask you this, and I think this is in the description as well. The rule system. This still using the similar rule system, the Muting U Zero engine, I
Yeah,
believe it's called.
yeah,
Same system,
yeah,
same rules.
yeah. I think it will be most similar to Vasen, actually.
Oh, okay, okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this project. I'm really excited about it. This sounds like a really good sci-fi adventure. And being that I've read your Walking Dead book, Walking Dead RPG, I'm really excited to see your take on this world that Simon helped create. So viewers, thank you for watching. I will put a link in the description for the Kickstarter so you can check it out yourself. And stay safe out there. Have a good day, everyone.